What's up, Pro Wrestling World? It's your boy JB coming to you with AEW's All Out match prediction results and recap and what I think AEW needs to do moving forward. Well, the show kicked off with the 0 hour, and to be honest with y'all, family, I didn't really. I'm a big Alabama fan, so I was trying to flip back and forth between the 0 hour and the Alabama game. But two big things that for me that came out of the 0 hour is the Beast Mortos. They was in like a 4-man tag. And the Beast Mortos teamed up with the Undisputed Kingdom. The Beast Mortos has so many incredible spots in that match. The dude is Tony's got to start using him across all three shows: Rampage, Dynamite, Collision, because this dude, Beast Mortos, is going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's going to be a great hand for Tony Khan. And the second highlight for me was Sky Blue, who unfortunately I saw Sky Blue hurt her ankle when she was here in Texas in a match against Shida. She's from Chicago, so she came out and, serenaded the crowd, and the crowd serenaded her, right back. And then this random attack from Mariah May. They insulted each other. Now, here's the thing. Mariah May is turning herself into one of the most despicable heels in wrestling today. With slapping her mother, the crazy stuff she did to Tony Storm. Then she comes out here and attacks Sky Blue, who's injured. And then Queen Aminata came in and did the save for Sky Blue. Queen Aminata, who I love, she's a great, great wrestler, great presence. She's got some growing to do. But Mariah May, I'm worried about Mariah May ending up like Cody Rhodes and ending up like Bayley, because Cody Rhodes and Bayley in WWE was involved in such high-profile stories with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline, Bayley and Damage Control. When they completed their stories and became champions, it's like, okay, where's the next feud? It's just like a bunch of little one-off feuds, right? And I'm worried that that's going to happen with Mariah May, because she had the big high-profile feud with Tony Storm. She got the title, and she had a random title match against Nyla Rose. And then it appears that they're setting up a Queen Aminata Mariah May match. Now, Queen Aminata, she's got star power. She's rising up, but she has one of the worst win-loss records. If you go to AEW's website, she has one of the worst win-loss records in the women's division. So for us to take Queen Aminata seriously, she has to win a series of big matches, not just beating some jobber. She needs to be winning big matches. Don't put her in a match with Mariah May just because. Okay, Tony, please. Aminata's great, but she needs to go on a winning streak and look credible. I don't know what they're going to do with Mariah May. I mean, it'd be nice if Julia Hart comes and challenges her. She's a credible contender. But I'm worried they're just going to throw in these random matches till Tony gets back. Or I don't know. But they got to do something with her. Now that feud's behind her for a minute, you got to do something with Mariah May as your women's world champion. AEW All Out kicked off with the blood feud match between MJF and Danny Garcia. Tony Khan. That was the right match to kick off this great, great pay-per-view. MJF walks out first. He does his little strut. He does the little thing where the flag drops down, and then boom! Danny Garcia comes out of nowhere, man. No music, no interest, just Danny Garcia attacks him from behind. So they go back and forth. MJF ends up busting Danny Garcia open. But let me tell y'all something. What is up with this spitting crap that's going on in wrestling, especially at AEW? Spit, like real life Louis spits. Liquid. Spit. Real spit in people's face. MJF spit in Danny Garcia's face. Danny Garcia spit in MJF's face. Like real life spit. This is no key fab. This is real spit. This is look. I get the blood feud stuff, but spitting, bro, like real life spit. The match was physical. The match was nasty. The match was a bloody mess, man. It was so many pile drivers and power bombs that looked like somebody's neck was gonna break. But the crowd was engaged throughout the entire match, man. Several good false finishes in the match. MJF did something, flipped the referee around, did a low blow on Danny Garcia, pinned him, and won the match. I predicted Danny Garcia to win the match. But with MJF winning the match, and then after he won the match, Danny Garcia almost fell for MJF trying to congratulate him. He ends up low blowing MJF and then pile drives him off the top rope. So clearly he just written MJF off TV. And then there's rumors on the dirt sheets that MJF is about to write a movie. And then you're wondering, why didn't Danny Garcia win the match? Largely because Danny Garcia's future with AEW is still up in the air. He has not officially signed yet. And so they feel like he's gonna sign. Because he hasn't signed yet, he has to lose the match. But if he does sign, at least he beat the hell out of MJF and written him off TV, so he's have some type of momentum. So I really can't say what's moving forward. I mean, Danny Garcia has to re-sign, or he's probably going to go to WWE. MJF is probably going to go and do a movie. But this was a great match to open up AEW All Out. It was fantastic from start to finish. But Tony Khan, we have to ease up on the spit. I mean, this was like, I know I harped on it earlier, but the spitting, the blood, fine. The hard spots, the bumps, fine. But the spit in people's face? Woo. The next match on the card was for the World Tag Team Championship, where the Young Bucks defended their belts against the Blackpool Combat Club. A lot of great wrestling. I mean, the match was great. I predicted the Young Bucks to retain, and that's exactly what they did. Nothing really in the match moved me. Nothing really told a story. And that's what Tony Khan has to get better with the trios and the Tag Team Championship divisions. I don't know what he wants to do with that. Maybe get rid of one and just focus on the other, but it was just a match. It really didn't move me. It was put together late. So the Young Bucks are one of the best tag teams in the world, and they probably should hold it to a real, legitimate, credible, fresh tag team comes along and could take the belts from them. The next match on the card ended up being Will Ospreay versus Bastard Pac for the International Championship. I predicted Will would retain, and that's exactly what he did. But let me tell you, just when you thought Will versus Bryan Danielson couldn't get any better, just when you thought Will versus Swerve, Will versus MJF couldn't get any better, all you got to do is when you get a chance, tune in to Will Ospreay versus the Bastard Pac. This match absolutely delivered. I wrote so many notes down, guys. I don't even fight forever. Will Ospreay and Bastard Pac can fight forever. Okay? I'm just going to leave it at that. So many great false finishes, man. Then you had Ricochet watching backstage. And this was the first match they had since 2019, the Bastard Pac and Will Ospreay. And that match ended in a draw. This match was decisive because Will won with the hidden blade. So many counters, so many high-flying, risky spots. That's all I could say. Will Ospreay, Bastard Pac, fight forever. Now, moving forward, I don't know what Bastard Pac going to do as a singles competitor because he is a trios champion. But I want to see Will Ospreay versus the Bastard Pac again. I want to see it 2 or 3 more times. That's just how sensational that match was. It's definitely one of the matches of the year. And we got to see that again. We got to see that more than once. So I was going to say, moving forward, let's get Bastard Pac and Will. I tweeted that maybe this match should have been saved for Wrestle Dream. But then Ricochet came and challenged Will Ospreay in an indirect way backstage after Will won the match. They kind of called each other out, and Ricochet says, "I'm waiting for you." So that'll be a great match for Wrestle Dream, is Will Ospreay versus Ricochet for the international title. But you got to get some more matches under Ricochet's belt. Let him win some couple of matches and have some momentum going into that match. And as far as the Bastard Pac, I mean, he has a trios title, so I don't know what he's going to do as a singles champion because he's a trios champion, but Bastard Pat needs another shot at Will Ospreay after that performance. Absolutely sensational match. I'm anticipating Will Ospreay versus Ricochet at Wrestle Dream. The next match on the card was Willow Nightingale versus Kris Statlander in a Chicago street fight. Everybody online, especially on Twitter, was like, "Oh my God, the women got to follow Will Ospreay and the Bastard Pac." Well, guess what? They delivered, and it was widely considered one of the best hardcore women's fights in all of pro wrestling. I predicted Kris Statlander would win, and that's exactly what she did. This match, I got my notes here. I thought it was real cool that Willow had the Smile Away t-shirt on because, you know, Kris Statlander in the interview leading up to the match was like, "All you do is smile, Willow." And, you know, Kris Statlander was really upset because Willow never gave Kris Statlander a title shot because Kris lost the TBS championship without getting pinned in some fatal four-way or triple threat match. But the match was physical. The match was crazy. That was probably the most iconic moment in hardcore match history where I'm a loss for words. Kris Statlander was trying to do something to Willow Nightingale, and she ended up doing a split over some tacks that was spilled out in the match, during the match. And you could see her, you know what, almost the tack. Just go watch it, okay? But Kris Statlander is winning the match using a submission, probably like a crippler crossface, but she was using the chains. But one key moment, Willow had knocked Kris Statlander and caused her to bleed with some light pole thing. And then she was going to go after Stokely. But then Stokely ran off and never came back to the end of the match. And I thought then that Kris Statlander was going to attack him because, like, dude, where you been? You come out here after I win the match? You left halfway through the match and didn't come back until after I won. So I thought that was a little weird. But Kris Statlander won the match. I thought initially this match was going to be for the CMLL championship that Willow holds because Kris Statlander did defeat Willow Nightingale in an eliminator match. So at some point, you're thinking Kris Statlander's going to get a title shot. But this was just a good old blood feud street fight. What's next for Kris Statlander? Kris Statlander needed a huge win like that. Willow could absorb the loss because she's over no matter what Willow does. She's going to be over. She is so over, man. I'm talking about she is over. Kris needed a big win. I want to see Kris Statlander, and it sucks that now Mariah May is a heel. Mercedes Moné is a heel. Both are your two champions. And AEW only has 2 women's championships, Tony Khan. We need to do something about that. The men have like 8 championships to go after, and the women only have 2. Come on. So both of your world champions, your TBS champions are heels. And Kris Statlander is a heel. So I don't know how that works, but Kris Statlander needs to be near the top of the card competing for a championship. I don't know what her next feud is going to be, but she needs to be fighting, ride the wave of this momentum and be fighting, competing, winning here and there on women on the top card. For Willow, what's next for Willow? Willow probably needs to go down to Mexico probably in Mexico and start defending her CMLL championship. I mean, she does have the CMLL Women's Championship that Stephanie Varcour ended up vacating to go to WWE, so she needs to start defending that belt. The next match on the card was the Fatal 4-Way match for the Continental Championship, where Okada had to defend his belt against Takeshita, Mark Briscoe, and Orange Cassidy. Overall, this was a really, 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 really good match. But everybody was waiting for the Takeshita and Okada showdown. They had the first stare down. Then Orange Cassidy kind of interrupted. Then they, all four guys was fighting. And then by the time it was the second stare down, the second, 1, 2, 1, 2, the second stare down, Okada and Takeshita went at it. It was Okada ends up, it looked like Takeshita was going to win. He put a move on Orange Cassidy, and then the legend himself, the veteran himself, Okada came in, threw some people out the ring, created a 1v1 matchup with Orange Cassidy, hit him with the Rainmaker, and pinned him. And then there was a long stare between Okada and Takeshita after the match, which leads me to believe, and I predicted that Okada would win, right? It leads me to believe that I'm hoping that Tony Khan has Takeshita dethrone Okada, maybe at Wrestle Dream, maybe at Full Gear, maybe at World's End. Takeshita should be the only one dethroning Okada. Takeshita should be the only one dethroning Okada for the Continental Championship. That will be one of the best matches of the year. I can feel it. Those guys, you got to give Takeshita that momentum. He's coming straight off of his great performance at the G1 tournament. Tony, this push and pull with Takeshita has to stop. The alpha is time. No more push and pull. Push. No more pulling. Push. He proved it at the G1 tournament. He didn't win it, but he had a tremendous showing. The man needs gold, and he should be beating Takeshita for it. You got to do it, Tony. And that's my next steps for Takeshita. He should be keying and eyeing himself on Okada. And what's next for Okada, maybe after he deals with some kind of feud with Takeshita and drops the belt, he needs to be going after the world. We're talking about Okada. If you don't know nothing about Okada, look at his work in Japan. You looking at this Okada AEW, think he's this fun-loving guy that's in cruise control. The man did his work in Japan, okay? This dude should be going after the world championship, AEW championship. And it'd be good to maybe get a match while he's a heel, get a match in with Bryan Danielson. But he needs to drop the Continental belt to Takeshita first. The next match on the card was for the TBS Women's Championship, where Mercedes put her title on the line against Hikaru Shida. Shida won a fatal 4-way on Collision, where she fought Queen Aminata, Serena Deeb, and Thunder Rosa. She won the match that gave them a number one contenders match for the title at AEW All Out. This was one of the 3 or 4 matches I was looking forward to the most, and the crowd was really engaged. The ring gear of both women were really nice. There was "Let's Go Shida" CEO chants. It was a great technical match. Hikaru Shida did 3 straight Falcon arrows that I'd never seen before. I predicted Mercedes to retain, and Mercedes did. Shida did 3 straight Falcon arrows, which was incredible. I've never seen that. Mercedes wrestled great. Shida did well. The match was good 3/4 of the way in. Let me just quit being formal. The match was really good 3/4 of the way in. The crowd was engaged. Then something weird between Mercedes Moné and Shida happened. Their match at Dynamite a couple of weeks ago was really good. And everybody was like, man, give them time to cook. They only wrestled for like 8 minutes. And there was not a lot of story leading into the match other than the segment that they had in the Go Home show and the match that they wrestled a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. So they really didn't have time to build a story. We all know the Britt Baker match with Mercedes didn't work out. So you had to scramble and get Mercedes a match at All Out. Shida probably was the best candidate. I'm a fan of both women. I'm a big fan of Shida, the Shining Samurai, and I'm a big fan of the CEO, Mercedes Moné. But I gotta be real. 3/4 of the match was good. And then after that, I don't know what the hell happened. So to go back to what I said, Mercedes Moné hit the 3 amigos. Shida did 3 straight Falcon Arrows, which I thought was really cool in the match. A lot of good counters back and forth. And then Hikaru Shida does 1 katana. And then maybe like a second one that didn't quite hit. And maybe maybe the second one hit. But it looked like it may have hit Mercedes pretty hard. And then Shida did a 3rd katana. What is a katana? That is Hikaru Shida's finishing move. Shida did 3 straight. She goes for the pin. Mercedes kicks out at 1 and just frantically rolls out the ring after a 1 count. 3 straight katanas. Hikaru Shida hit 3 straight. She goes for the pin. Mercedes aggressively kicks out at 1, rolls out the ring, and goes for Shida's samurai, katana, her sword. Then there's this weird exchange going back and forth, and then Shida wants to hit her with it, then she doesn't. Then Shida was kind of selling the knee kind of halfway through the match. Shida avoids the moneymaker once, then Mercedes chop blocks her and then gets her for the moneymaker again. The moneymaker is a weak move. Mercedes, retire the moneymaker. Shida couldn't even sell it because it was executed so poorly. And then Shida gets pinned off of a weak-ass moneymaker finisher. I don't know if Mercedes maybe got concussed or Mercedes was mad that maybe one of Shida's katanas hit her pretty hard. You can't. She did 3 finishers. 3. And Mercedes just aggressively kicks out of the move? No sells it? What are we doing? It's probably not going to be explained publicly. But if you're a real pro wrestling fan, that made 0 sense. Again, it's one or two things. Mercedes got loopy with probably a hard hit. I think Shida tried to check on her. And maybe Mercedes got pissed and went rogue. Or she got loopy and just maybe forgot some of the spots in the match. But Mercedes is something, because when she pinned Shida, she stood up aggressively over, and you should be lucky that you're in the ring with me. And by the way, Camille was banned from ringside. And look, it's been rumors on the dirt sheets that the Renegade Twins were supposed to join Mercedes Moné's new faction, the Money Corporation. Genius Robin Renegade gets on Twitter after Mercedes tweeted, "I gotta call my EVPs because Camille shouldn't be banned from ringside." she retweets what Mercedes says and does like an eye and an ear emoji. And then fans start calling out like, hey, you're spoiling it. And then she retweets it like, y'all need to watch the show, chill. So I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to die on this hill, Tony Khan saw this foolishness from Robin Renegade and had to alter this match. Because I truly feel that Mercedes was not supposed to win this match clean. It was supposed to be the debut of the Renegade Twins come out there and help Mercedes Moné win the match because Camille wasn't at ringside. But genius Robin Renegade, who's been jobbing since I can remember, can't hold her excitement for joining Mercedes faction and blows the cover. So Tony had to improvise. Because, yes, you can say, hey, man, Mercedes winning clean against Shida is a big move, and it is. But it was the Camille being banned from ringside was designed, I feel, for the Renegade Twins to make their debut. And Robin blew it. Y'all may think I'm harsh. You can check my Twitter history. I'm a big fan of Mercedes Moné. I'm a big fan of Hikaru Shida. But something went weird. And I'm going to go back and watch it. Something went weird with the 3 straight katana finishers from Shida and for Mercedes to aggressively kick out at a 1 count. That's like Roman Reigns when he got hit with the 3 straight Cody cutters. He kicks out of a move, kicks out of the Cody Rhodes fin. Something went down there, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it. But Shida didn't get a chance to make history by being the only woman to have a TBS championship and hold a women's world title. So moving forward for Mercedes, moving forward for Shida, I had so much hype for this match, man. They had longer to cook. And that last quarter of the match was just weird. I'm worried about Hikaru Shida. And I want to be wrong, but I want her to get another title run. But I don't know where we go from here with Shida. Does she try to challenge Mercedes again? Now you done lost to her twice in a row. You lost to her with help from Camille, and now you lost to her clean. Even though Mercedes was doing some heel type stuff, right? And Mercedes was very aggressive in the match. So I don't know. Maybe that was key fab, but it was just some aggressiveness going on with her and Shida. But I'm worried about Shida, man, because she's an enhancement talent now. She's jobbing to the top of the card. You got her winning on the mid card and the undercard, but she's jobbing to the top of the card. So it's going to be hard to take her seriously and make her a credible champion at some point, if that's what Tony's trying to do. But I don't know what's going to go on with Shida. Is she going to eventually leave? And they trying to just have her bow out gracefully? I don't know, man. But Shida needs some fire, man. She had a really good promo before the match, but I don't know who you have a feud with after this, but Shida needs something going for her, man. She deserves that. She's a 3-time women's champion. She's the longest reigning women's champion. Has the most wins for a woman, over 100 wins in AEW. So some respect needs to be put on Hikaru Shida's name. As far as Mercedes Moné, Wrestle Dreams coming up. Mercedes, the creative has to help her because I don't think Mercedes is still resonating with the AEW diehards. You got some casual fans and some ex-WWE fans that are coming in to cheer her on. The Willow story was great, and it was a great match. The Stephanie Valcour match was tremendous. Okay, the Shida match was good. But there's something missing with Mercedes' character at AEW. She's definitely improved the women's roster by more TV time, women leading off matches. She's doing great. The longest match was her and Willow over the 18-minute match at Double or Nothing. But there's something still missing with Mercedes. Like, whenever she walks out there, there's all this hype and it just fizzes out. I mean, yes, you get your little CEO chance here and there, but dude, there's something. There needs to be a memorable feud, a memorable moment that puts Mercedes over, because she's not completely over with the AEW fan base. It's this weird somethingness in the air that's going on with Mercedes at AEW that's not fully clicking yet. And I'm just being real. I gotta act how I'm feeling, and I want to feel a certain way about Mercedes succeeding in AEW, and there's just this weirdness going on in these matches. And when I say weirdness, it's nothing she's doing wrong, but the story's got to get better. She needs memorable moments. You can't just trot her out there and just have a great match. What she did 8 years, for the 8 years she was in WWE, she's in AEW now. She needs to make her mark at this promotion. She needs a signature AEW promote. She's a signature AEW moment. That's what they need to do for her moving forward. They gotta, this build up the Wrestle Dream needs to be against a quality opponent again. And it needs to be a story told. Shida was great, but it was just not enough time to tell a story. So that's my take on that match. I knew Mercedes was going to retain, but we got to get some seriousness around the stories of Mercedes Mone and Hikaru Shida. The next match on the card was newly crowned AEW Men's World Champion Bryan Danielson versus TNT Champion Jack Perry of the Elite. I predicted Bryan Danielson would retain, and that's exactly what he did. The match, it was a good little first match for Bryan Danielson because everybody knew he wasn't going to lose his first title defense. So it's a good match to have, even though I still didn't care about it because I just do not like Jack Perry. I don't like his character. He's great in the ring, but I don't like it's not a whole lot I like about him. The Chicago crowd gave him a lot of heat. There was a lot of F you Jack chants. He was eating it up. Jack Perry did some weird stuff where he hurt the referee. The EVPs tried to come out and attack Bryan Danielson. They did. But then Claudio chased them off. Right? Claudio came out there and he chased them off. It was a great technical match, but in the end, Bryan Danielson wore down the young fella, and then he hit him with a couple of his finishers, and then Jack Perry was woozy and he was defiant and left himself open for the kill shot. Bryan Danielson took him out and won the match. I sped through that match because we need to get to the aftermath. So after the match, let's remember, Christian won the Casino Gauntlet at All In. Killswitch comes out after the match and attacks Bryan Danielson as he's celebrating. Then Christian's music hits. Christian is about to walk out there and cash in on Bryan Danielson, and then Moxley stops him. And then Christian's like, man, it's just one of you. And then the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and the Bastard Pack, the Trios champions, they walk out there. So Christian's like, you know what? This ain't the time now. We're going to try this again at another time. Christian and his crew walk backstage. Moxley runs out, gives all these hugs. Hey, man, everything's cool. And here I'm like, Mox hasn't been affiliated with his old group in a long time. So something is a little off here, right? So then Mox gives him another little hug. Bryan Danielson turns towards Claudio, and boom! A European uppercut from Claudio to Bryan Danielson. Mox does this crazy thing and gets this plastic bag, puts it over Bryan Danielson's head, choking him out. Wheeler Yuta's trying to get to his mentor, but Bastard Pack stops him. Mox, the crowd was saying, this is murder. He basically chokes out the champion with the plastic bag, and everybody walks off except for Wheeler Yuta. So clearly they turn on Bryan Danielson. But Wheeler Yuta stayed back. So I don't know how this is going to work out because Wheeler Yuta is a trios champion with Claudio and Bastard Pac, and clearly they walked off with Marina Shafir and the rest of the crew. So I don't know how that dynamic is going to work. And what are we going to do for Bryan Danielson's match at Wrestle Dream? Is he going to face Christian? Is he going to face Moxley? Is he going to face Claudio? Is he going to face the Bastard Pac? Because you got to figure he's probably about to get in a feud with the people that just turned on him. So overall, the ending was a whole lot better. The ending was a lot better story-wise. The match was really good technically because, like I said, as much as I despise Jack Perry, he's really good in ring. And you know what Bryan Danielson brings. But the story after the match with the Blackpool Combat Club, except for Wheeler Yuta, turning on Bryan Danielson. And I predicted in my match prediction video that Mox is going to do something to round out what he's trying to do. And I thought Shane McMahon was going to come out there, but he didn't. And it could be something further down the road, but at least Mox is letting us know, okay, now I turned on him, but he's still stringing us along on what his real motive is. And the main event match of the night, the most anticipated match in this, one of the greatest blood feuds, if not the greatest blood feud, is the greatest blood feud in AEW history, and it's one of the greatest in modern AEW history, is Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland. I'm dropping my head right now because I took so many notes on this match. But this was an unsanctioned, brutal, disgusting, despicable lights out match. Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, they've been feuding since Wrestle Dream last year, man. And they have turned this into one of the greatest. JR, who liked my tweet, I got a liked tweet from, to me, the greatest wrestling sports caller of all time, Jim Ross. I basically said, I got high respect for Jim Ross, and he is saying that this is one of the best rivalries he's ever been a part of, and this man has called WWE and WCW. He's called Rock and Stone Cold. He's called Undertaker Mankind. He's called Rock and Triple H. He's called Kane and The Undertaker. He's called Stone Cold and Triple. He's saying this? Swerve and Hangman is one of the best he has ever called. This match was absolutely despicable, man. It was a whole bunch of you sick fucks chants. Swerve stapling pictures of his family on Hangman. They're stapling each other. They're powerbombing each other on a center block. I'm looking at my notes, man. Multiple swerve stomps. Multiple house calls. Hangman Adam Page, he burned down Swerve's childhood home and he brought like a charred piece of wood that he turned into a knife that Swerve was stabbing him. Hangman put some barber out where he was just scrubbing Swerve's face across it. But I guess Hangman may have made Swerve bleed first with the staples, and then Swerve had Hangman bleeding. But what ended this match was Hangman was nailing Swerve with the tip of the chair on the side of his head, and Swerve's being defiant. Hangman Adam Page, when Swerve was up laughing, pulled the grill out of Swerve's mouth. Pull Swerve's grill out of his mouth, man. And proceeds to take some kind of needle, hypodermic needle, and stabs it in the corner of Swerve's mouth. and then gives him one of the most unprotected chair shots you will ever see in pro wrestling. You got to remember, Tony Khan is pictures of Tony Khan in the stands watching ECW. I'm not saying AEW is ECW because ECW is some of the most hardcore, vicious spot wrestling you'll ever see, if not the most. But Tony Khan tried to give us some. Tony Khan was writing a love letter to ECW with this Hangman Swerve match. He was definitely writing a letter to it. It may not have been it was gruesome, but it may not have been as gruesome as ECW, but he was definitely trying to get there. And Tony Khan was writing a love letter to ECW. Hangman Adam Page finally toppled Swerve because Swerve has won 3 straight matches in a row. And I picked Hangman to win, and Hangman won the match. And it was the right call. Hangman didn't need to go 0-4. So what's next? Swerve, after an unprotected chair shot and getting stabbed in the jaw with some kind of needle and power bombs on center blocks and head going across a barbed wire, should not be on TV for quite some time. Swerve needs to take a couple of months off. He's had a great run. He got us through the summer as champion when he took the belt from Samoa Joe. Done a lot of great work nonstop across all 3 shows, across all pay-per-views. Swerve should have been written off TV right there. It wouldn't make sense at all for Tony Khan to bring Swerve back after what he just endured in that unsanctioned lights out cage match. Don't bring Swerve back for a couple of months to make that feel real, that Adam Hangman Page basically killed the man in the ring. Okay. What's next for Adam Hangman Page is he needs to be going after the world championship. There's only a handful of people I think needs to dethrone Bryan Danielson because he has to have neck surgery this year. You can mix in there Christian Cage because he has a contract he can cash in on at any time. But if it's not Christian, Hangman Page needs to defeat Bryan Danielson and become AEW World. I don't want to see Hangman Page doing nothing from this point on. After that match, he should be going after the AEW World Championship and getting it back. That's all that needs to happen. And then maybe you can bring Swerve back after he done won the belt, and then he can challenge him at All In next year. However you want to do that, that'll be a hell of a match. But Hangman needs to be after the World Heavyweight Championship. And man, that match delivered. It was gruesome. The heat coming into the match, the build coming into the match, the history of the feud, man, that was a culmination for it. So I want to see Hangman go at the title. I want to see Swerve take a little break, come back, maybe tweak his character a little bit, and we'll be rocking and rolling. Overall, though, this was one of the best pay-per-views of the year. AEW, you outdid yourself, and you only had 2 weeks to build off of the All In pay-per-view, which moving forward, Tony Khan may want to consider giving at least a month break in between All Out or All In and All Out. Maybe give yourself about at least 3 weeks, Tony. At least 3 weeks. Just to build up some stories, because you threw the Mercedes and Shida match in there with not a whole lot of build. You threw the tag match in there with not a whole lot of build. You threw the Continental match in there with not a whole lot of build. You threw the Will Ospreay Bastard Pack in there with not a whole lot of build. The only matches that really had build, and the Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry, the only matches that really had build was the Willow, Kris Statlander match and the MJF Garcia match and the Swerve match. Those are the only 3 matches that went in there with a long story that was told. So give yourself a month, Tony, because the Shida Mercedes match could have been a whole lot better. Now, these are 2 matches in a row with Mercedes and Shida and it could have been better if a better story was told. I still, despite all of that, I give the show a 9.25 out of 10. Great opening match. The Will Bastard Pack match. The Willow Kris match right after the Will match. The tag match and the Continental match, although it was lacking its story, it was great wrestling, no real botches. Here's my 2 knocks. Or maybe 3. What kept it from being a 10 out of 10 is the weirdness of how the Shida Mercedes match ended with the 3 katanas and she no-sold it. That was just devastating because the match was really good, maybe 3/4 of the way in. I don't know what happened there. And we got to get something centered around Mercedes to where she has a memorable moment and she can feel completely over with this AEW crowd because they're just not there yet with Mercedes. The tag match was great wrestling, but no story. So it was kind of a dud. Even though it was the 0 hour, but the Mariah May stuff was kind of weird with Sky Blue, right? But overall, the show with the Hangman Swerve, the Will Ospreay, the Willow match, the MJF match, even though the story wasn't there, the Danielson Perry match was good. But I'm giving the show because the crowd was energized from start to finish. The crowd was completely energized. And the matches were good. Matches were very good to great. Like I said, only Doc was the Mercedes Shida situation. But 9.25 out of 10. What I'd like to see moving forward is AEW needs to start on Wednesday on Dynamite. Tony Khan, start building your matches. Well, I guess you got the Grand Slam that's coming up at the end of September. So start building your matches up there to lead to that. And then a couple weeks after that, you got to start getting yourself ready for Wrestle Dream. But you got to start Wednesday. Get the stories going for Grand Slam and have that spill over into Wrestle Dream. And Tony will be in great shape. But incredible pay-per-view to follow up 2 weeks after your biggest pay-per-view of the year. Your WrestleMania is All In, and you followed up All Out perfectly. There's a couple of things that could have been done better, but overall, each match was in the spot it was supposed to be in. Great, great, great work, Tony Khan. Great work. A little bit more things to tweak and improve, but overall, tremendous PLE. There's 3 or 4 matches coming out of that, and the heel turn with the Blackpool Combat Club is going to be talked about for a long time in AEW history. Pro Wrestling World, if you like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. The next vlog or content that I'm going to put out is Julia's debut match against Chelsea Green. So be on the lookout for that probably on Wednesday this week. After that match, you should see a video from me and let me know your thoughts. Until then, Pro Wrestling World, have a good night.